everyone, this is my first reaction video, and I'm reacting to Miche, who has a PhD, and she talks about fruit and the fruit in sugar. And I thought this was an interesting video because I sometimes get people who well, I've had comments mainly on my other channel, but that people really don't understand the difference between the fruit and sugar, other sugars, and there's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot more to it than just, oh, something has sugar, therefore it must be terrible, and it all has this insulin response. It's all this terrible and awful. And this is my reaction videos can be kind of a bit sarcastic, but I can be a little opinionated, but I only get that way when people have misinformation. They keep spreading this, oh, it's common knowledge, you can't have sugar, it's going to raise your insulin, which is going to be terrible and awful. And you know, insulin actually, within a certain level, that your blood sugar and all that, and the insulin response to it's there for a reason. Now, too much of it obviously is a problem, and I will get into that in future reaction videos with somebody who has a doctorate in nutrition science, and she has a doctorate as well. But this guy has been around for a long, long time, decades and decades, and has some really good information about what really causes insulin resistance, diabetes, all that kind of thing. And it's way more complicated than just having some, like thinking that fruit and sugar is an issue. Well, here's one. I will give you many, many more examples of why it's not such a problem. And again, non-medical advice, just for most of us. This is really good information. And whether you're kind of afraid of sugar, even the ones in fruit, or you're not, or whatever, it's very interesting. So I will start off, and like I said, my first reaction video, I'm trying it on the TV, so here we go. And I'm going to put it on pause for a second.
Trials of what happens to people's health when we make them eat more fruit or fruit juice compared to various placebo or control groups. There will be some association studies as well, and I will clarify for each one. And first I'm going to talk about inflammation, and then I'll talk about insulin resistance and diabetes, and then I'll talk about cardiovascular risk factors, and then overall mortality, so overall risk of dying for people who eat more versus less fruit. And then I will talk about an extra really cool bonus finding that wasn't what I...
Okay, so yes, Miche PhD, there it is right there, but I'll put it in the description. And yeah, so she's going to talk about a few things, and I'm just going to react to a few of them. You can see her whole video. I will link that in the description below. And so let's just look at a few things here.
We'll say that sugar causes inflammation, and therefore, because fruit has sugar, fruit also causes inflammation, just based on that logic. But what do the actual scientific studies say? In a meta-analysis of 36 experiments, so giving people fruit and seeing what happens, usually in the form of an RCT, found that giving people fruit not only does not cause inflammation, but it actually improves inflammation. So eating more fruit and giving people more fruit was found to reduce people's inflammatory markers, such as C-reactive protein and tumor necrosis factor alpha, compared to people who were not.
Okay, so yes, the randomized controlled studies, that's one way of doing them. But anyway, there is something to that. And I had one other thing I wanted to do, because I don't want to go through the whole thing and make it a really long video. But something else I wanted to point out as well. Just a moment.
Soluble fiber. Now, there aren't as many studies about fruit juice and inflammation as there are on fruit and inflammation, but randomized controlled trials indicate that there are no effects of fruit juice, like general fruit juice like orange and apple and stuff like that, on inflammation. However, for fruit juices that are higher in antioxidants like red orange juice or cranberry juice, studies are finding that having these juices does improve inflammatory markers, just like whole fruit. Fruit itself also causes insulin resistance and therefore diabetes, is what I see around. And again, what do the actual studies say? For whole fruits, randomized controlled trials have found that giving people berries reduces people's postprandial insulin and glucose. So having berries helps you have less of an insulin spike and glucose spike after you eat a meal. And oranges have been found to reduce fasting insulin and fasting glucose and reduce insulin resistance. Unfortunately, other types of fruits haven't been studied as much in randomized controlled trials when it comes to for diabetes. And as for juices, multiple meta-analyses agree that fruit juice does not predict any changes in insulin resistance or insulin sensitivity when looked at as a whole. So the general category of fruit juices that are made of 100% fruit do not have any effect on blood sugar control or insulin or anything like that.
Okay, so you can see that it's not as much of an issue as people want to make it out to be. Remember that when we're talking about fruit, it has a lot of potassium in it, and potassium has as much of ability as insulin, is good at driving it into the cells with the blood sugar, driving that sugar into the cells as insulin. So potassium is very important. It's a whole food. It has those micronutrients that you need to make all processes in the body work better. So yeah, fruit is not as much of an issue. Now I'm going to get to one other thing that she has to say, and then I want you to go watch her video if you would like to.
Finds that adding fruit to your diet helps you with exercise-induced muscle damage. So eating more fruit causes you to have less inflammation, less oxidative stress, and less actual damage on your muscles after you work out. And so what this means is that fruit helps with exercise recovery. And I suspect this is one of the reasons why so many athletes go plant-based and then say that their performance really improved. And for example, there's a lot of plant-based NBA players out there. So I wonder if they're getting muscle recovery benefits from eating tons of fruit. So the overall takeaway from all the studies out there is that fruit is not bad for you. Fruit is good for you. Even fruit juice is good for you as long as it is made of 100% fruit. We're not talking about like crappy concentrate, sugar added stuff. We're talking about actual juice made from fruits and only fruits. And the sugar in fruit is not causing any bad effects when it's eaten in fruit or in fruit juice. None of these studies looked at isolated fruit sugars. It's kind of a weird separate topic where we just start talking about fructose. But if you would like a video on fructose specifically or sugar specifically with health.
So the end is that, yes, it is not an issue. Now again, not medical advice, but for vast majority of us anyway, this is not so much of an issue, not something you should worry about that, oh, there's sugar in fruit kind of thing. It's not true that it's a problem. I eat a lot of it and I had my blood work done and it's great. But anyway, everybody's different. So, you know, I'm not giving you medical advice, again, saying that. But anyway, so yes, it's not true. It's a big myth that the sugar in fruit is a big problem and it's going to cause all these problems and whatnot. It's not true. We will get to sugar and addiction, apparently, type of thing. And talk about that a little bit more in a different reaction video. But that was just a reaction video, something I think is very interesting. This is one person's point of view. Yes, she is more plant-based. It's true. I will tell you that right up front. But I will also give you reactions from people who are not more in one extreme or another as well. In fact, Mario Kratz from Nutrition Nourished by Science, I will have a reaction video on that one, and he is neither one of those. He's neither any of those extremes. And I'm not saying extremes are bad. I'm just saying, you know, some people are a little more slighted one way than another. This one is more down the middle of the road, but this one was pretty good. She talked about randomized control trials, and those are pretty good. There are, you know, sometimes there are different types of trials. These are pretty good. And it was more than just one, it was a whole bunch of them together. And that's what I like, rather than a study shows kind of thing. It's like, that's one study, and who did it, and who was involved in it, and who benefited from it kind of thing. So that's all for today. You have a great day. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Goodbye.